to order. Today is April 14th at 6:15 p.m. Tonight is our last council meeting of this council cycle. All alderpersons are present except for Mr. Austin, who is excused on vacation, hopefully someplace a little better than our weather. Next item is Pledge of Allegiance and silent prayer in lieu of invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Item 4 is reading of the minutes of the previous meeting held on March 15th. What are your wishes? A motion by Jay, second by Dean. Is there any questions, comments? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. That motion carried 7 ayes, 0 nays. If you can indulge me just for a moment. Tonight is Jake's last meeting with this council. He served on the council from 2018 to 2022. He's represented his district well, and we're going to miss you around here and your point of view. Congratulations, though. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Ryan.
Yep, there you go. Black for you.
Thank you. I miss all you guys.
We'll give you a moment to sit down. The floor is yours, Jake.
Thank you. So I would just like to say that it's been a pleasure to work with all of you, past and present councils, current mayor, the past mayor, current and past city staff. Everybody has really been great. It's been a great experience and a pleasure to serve the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Next item of business is item 5, consider for approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 11 of the Municipal Code to define towing business and placing it within the zoning districts. This is the second reading of this ordinance. What are your wishes?
Can someone brief the council on this item?
Yeah, is Kyle by chance online? This is we had a business approach us that their business, Neiman's Towing, does not fit within a zoning district, and so they had approached the city, worked with planning and planning commission to bell spot them in a zoning district so they could grow their business.
Do we have
This
any
is Kyle.
detail on?
Can I elaborate on that further?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I do want to preface that this isn't just for Neiman's Towing. While they kind of sparked this request, we're also, right, whenever we perform an ordinance amendment, it's for the entirety of the city. So any towing business, potentially within a B2 or industrial type district, would be able to apply for a conditional use permit to operate towing. And so within the code, I think it's fitting, aside from Neiman's interest, to allow for a business to operate. Similarly, I think we currently allow for auto repair facilities to operate in the same district. So like on 8th Street, you'll find those auto repair businesses operating. And in many ways, auto repair facility can be, I think, more intense than a towing business. And we do have in the ordinance amendment clear separation between a towing business and a salvage yard. So you could not, as a towing business, operate a salvage yard. That's separately defined in the code. But you could have an office, a garage to store your tow truck, and keep, I believe, up to 15 vehicles on site for a period of time. And I believe Plan Commission recommended unanimously to approve this, and this was before council about a month ago and was not unanimous, and therefore, again, it's before you tonight for that second hearing. With that, I'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
So they're looking to open a repair shop alongside their current business, Neiman's Towing on West Grand. Are they going to add an addition, or this is just to try to make the current building fit with code?
So again, regardless of Neiman's, I think towing is fitting to be defined within the zoning code. But Neiman's, I think, is just interested in expanding their business, particularly to be able to house some of their trucks in an additional facility.
So in the same facility, or 'cause there's that a property adjacent or right across the street that had a smaller building that was torn down. Is that where they're doing it, or are they doing it on the current building?
I'm not sure if they've defined the exact location, and I don't want to speak for them, but it's my understanding that they're looking to grow their towing business. And right now, because towing is not defined in the zoning code, they're considered a non-conforming use.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused on what they're asking apart from their current towing business, where it's always been, and what they're planning to do. I mean, there's residential homes there. Where I'd just be interested to hear more about where they're expanding.
So with regards to the ordinance amendment, specific plans are not part of that review process. So they've requested the ordinance amendment. I think staff would support it. However, if the ordinance amendment passes, the next step would be a conditional use permit. So they would have to specifically identify how they're growing. They'd have to identify their building, show that they meet setbacks and other code requirements such as landscaping and parking, and that would come back to Plan Commission and Common Council for that conditional use permit.
Oh, I didn't know if you were done, Jake. Okay. Go ahead, Jay.
I just have a quick question. This is the second reading, correct?
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to Chapter 11 to include towing in the definition of vehicle repair shop.
I have a motion by Jay, seconded by Matt. Sorry about that. Any further discussion? Questions, comments? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. That motion carried 6 ayes and 1 abstention. We're on to item 6, consider for approval the transportation utility ordinance. This is the second reading of this ordinance. What are your wishes? Or I guess, what are your wishes?
Move to approve.
Motion by Dean, second by Matt. Anybody wish to speak? Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll make it short, hopefully. I was the one who voted against it last time, so we're here again. I think, I'll just say, I think after all the effort that was put into it, I think we fell short, I think, of what we should have probably done. But this is and I was hoping maybe that something would change in the week and a half, I guess, since the last meeting, but it hasn't. So this is at this point in time, the best that there is. I'll just remind seems like we put a lot of effort into for what we ended up with. Maybe that's all it had to work for this time. But just to remind everybody that the amount of roads that we have in the city and the amount of roads that have to be repaired, number of miles and that we have been for a long time, falling short on keeping up with and repairing them, and that somehow, somewhere, sometime, I think that situation is going to have to be really addressed. We have 158 or so miles of street in the city. We're repairing about 1 point something a year. We got 100 and plus that are over 40 years old. So somewhere, somehow, some council in the city is going to have to address the situation. And that's not just in saying how bad the streets are and all the potholes that we have. This started out with hopefully to have gotten a little bit farther than what we did on this, ended up with this ordinance. I thought we were going to. Towards the end, it became obvious that any type of support to do that had evaporated. So, have said that for I don't know how many times. It behooves, I do believe, the new council to take after this passes tonight, to take a fresh look at the street situation in Wisconsin Rapids and how to attack it again. A fresh attack. New eyes, wipe the slate clean of, I guess, what our thoughts are and see what can be done. We know how many miles we have. We know what we're looking at with this transportation utility. But when you're looking at how many roads that we are reconstructing and repairing in a year's time, a newborn today is probably not going to see the oldest that last street that should be repaired. I don't think that's something that we should take any whatever and to hang a hat on. So as ever, who all is ever listening outside of this room, that's a conundrum that we are faced with. Costs go up, how to finance it, how to do things. So I wish the new council well in attacking the situation, because I think it should be, and I think it should be one of the priorities ones, to put something on track of how we're going to do it. What we're passing tonight is not doing that. And so with that, I voted against it before, Your Honor, at the last meeting. As I said, hoping that maybe something could change. It didn't. That assessments being part of it, and I want to see that go through, and I think it would, even if I voted against it. So with that, Your Honor, whoever wants to make a motion can. Thank you.
Thank you. Jake?
I just wanted to, again, commend the staff and Public Works Committee members for getting this right. A couple years ago, this started as a real bloated mess, and we were talking about a utility that would generate millions of dollars to create a problem that originated as special assessments and trying to fix that. This fixes special assessments. This takes care of the problem that started all this. And it protects our fixed income residents from getting these $10,000, $20,000 bills that it doesn't fit in their budget. They can't afford it. It protects really all city residents and businesses from getting that large bill, and takes care of the longstanding issue of special assessments. And lastly, the 2/3 vote in this ordinance that it would take to change how the utility generates revenue protects residents from future councils perhaps taking this tool and using it to write a blank check. So I think this is the right ordinance. I think it's the right way to go, and everybody who worked on this, I thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Matt?
I guess just in my thoughts and listening to what Mr. Ayon was saying is that we're talking about $500,000 that we are agreeing to get from the special utility, but we were looking at $2.5 million. But the $2 million we're talking about is going to be there again and has been there for the last 30, 40 years in debt. We take it out in debt. So we're not changing the money of what we've been putting into the roads that we've been putting in forever. And if we're this far behind, having already had enough money, the same amount of money that the transportation utility would have supplied us with, I don't see why we're looking at, are the roads really that bad, or why are they this bad? Because the money's always been there. We have the debt to prove it. So we've always had the same amount of money that we're talking about. So I think we just, like you said, I think ultimately have to focus on what we're doing with the money that we have, because we're going to continue to take out the debt right now until we can possibly restructure the actual government itself and find the money that should be there for the roads, but the roads get put on the last possible thing as an agenda item to say, well, how are we going to pay for this? Because we have no money left. So I think we got to figure out where that money is versus trying to take more money from the residents that are already flipping the bill for the government to do what they're doing. So I think ultimately we're going to be able to survive this, but hopefully come up with a better system for repairing our roads in a more timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean?
Yes, as Mr. Catno had mentioned, this originally started to relieve special assessments. We had several meetings, businesses coming in, how it affect businesses, how it was a shift from some of the money going to businesses rather than the residents, how that worked. And as Mr. Rail mentioned, there were numbers that came up in terms of how we can help with borrowing, how we can do that. We had people calling it a tax because it's a utility and in effect, is it a tax? Sure, because people are paying it. So yeah, it's a tax, and but it's a tax that replaces what I consider to be a really unfair and punishing tax, which was the special assessment. As Mr. Catno mentioned, fixed income people with houses appraised at $70,000 have bills of $10,000. It's replacing a very punishing tax that was spread out to people just that were hit by it. This is sharing it across the community. Everybody uses the sidewalks and the roads throughout the community. And I also agree with Mr. Zacher to find that additional funding to work on the roads, which definitely need to be worked on. We have to dig a little harder within the existing budget. We have to stop at some point on the borrowing, so somewhere there has to be the cuts to equalize it. But I'm happy that we are moving forward and eliminating special assessments, because this is what it began for, and I've been in support of that from the beginning, and I would continue to support the the removal of that punishing tax. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. Speaking to Joe today, we are not, in this council and previous councils through history, we've never been sustainable on our roads. And we're not going to fix it overnight in one ordinance, one utility. But, talking to Joe today, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to, with mill and overlay now, we'll hit about 2.3 miles worth of road a year. So, we're closing that gap on our roads. And that's a step further than we were last year. And so I think maybe by taking that step, we're showing that we are progressing towards that. It's just not going to happen in one council, one point in time, because this was not created one point in time. This has been created over decades. But we've bumped that up to 2.3. So that is a huge step forward. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none? Please cast your ballots. That motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Let the work begin, Joe.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
Joe, I'm sure you've been getting lots of calls because I know I have as well. So people that are selling their homes that have not been billed for 2021, those bills hadn't gone out. I know a lot of realtors are confused with that as well as what to tell people when they're coming to tour property and they're like, oh, there's an assessment on there from last year, you know. So those properties that have not been billed will not be billed. Is that correct? Could you just clarify that a little bit
Yeah,
so the
that-
people at home can hear that as well?
That is
Thank you.
correct. So any of the projects from last year that, you know, we've completed that work, and we would normally prepare assessment hearings and proposed assessment reports, and then follow that up with invoicing. That process would not happen. So those invoices would not be sent out, and I've taken quite a few phone calls on that as well, both realtors and property owners, and have answered those questions as they come in. Eventually, here we will, in the next month or so, we will get a letter out to all those property owners explaining it, so they have a letter in hand.
Thank you for your work on this.
Could
Okay.
perhaps a statement on that be issued, like whether it's the website or Facebook, or if we put something out right away after we pass this, or since we passed it?
Yeah, I think we probably could. Yep.
Thank you. All right, on to business. Item 7 is consider the adoption and action of the Plan Commission meeting held on April 4th. The Plan Commission meeting met at 4 p.m. on April 4th at City Hall. List of attendees are on file in the clerk's office. It was moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the March 7th Plan Commission meeting, which carried 5-0. Item 2 was an update from the Vanderwall and Associates. Community Director Kyle Kearns provided updates and also mentioned regarding a special potential council meeting and Plan Commission meeting on May 10th at 5 p.m. at the Aquatic Center for a public meeting, tentatively scheduled later in May. Item 3 is Philip Dockel, extraterritorial CSM, which was certified survey map to approve the creation of a lot, which is under 5 acres in town of Rudolph. There was a motion and second to approve that creation. That motion carried 6-0. Item 4 is James Wallach, extraterritorial CSM, request for a certified survey map in town of Rudolph. And that was moved and seconded and approved by a motion of 6-0. Plan 22-0008, correction 184, Chad Worrell was a request for a site plan review to construct the accessory structure at 850 Rosecrans. There was a motion and a second to approve that with a list of conditions on file at the Plan Commission office. That motion carried 6-0. Item 6 was Plan 22-000198, CC Steckbauer, a request for an architectural review to perform facade improvements to the building at 150 2nd Street North, which falls in the downtown design overlay. There was a motion and a second to approve that request with some, minor modifications. Facade improvements can be approved by the Community Development Department. That motion carried 6 ayes, 0 nays. Item 7, there was a motion and a second to adjourn, which carried 6-0 at 4:32 p.m. I submit that for your review. Good.
If I may,
You may.
Kyle, so for the certified survey maps, I know we just give the survey maps because this is actually in the town of Rudolph. But do you know what those are for? Did they, I mean, I know we don't have anything to do with that, but is that like for a subdivision, or are those just lots that they were creating?
Yeah, so we have extraterritorial control for subdivision review within 3-mile radius around the city. And anything under 5 acres has to go before Plan Commission to make sure that it's, you know, it's not creating a use or a lot that could be detrimental to the city's growth area. In this case, both of the requests are for large residential lots.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make a motion to approve the planning commission report.
We have a motion by Jay, seconded by Matt. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. That motion carried 7 ayes, 0 nays. On to item 8, consider for adoption the actions of the Standing Committee of the Commons Council. Item A is Finance and Property Committee meeting held on April 5th. Mr. Alam.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Finance and Property Committee met at 4:30 PM on Tuesday, April 5th, 2022, in the council chambers at City Hall. The meeting was live on Wisconsin Rapids Community Access WRCM, Spectrum Channel 985, and Solaris Channel 3 online at www.wr-cm.org or via WRCM Roku app, and was streamlined live on the City of Wisconsin Rapids Facebook page. All members of the Finance and Property Committee were present. Also in attendance were Alderperson Veneman, Sue Schell, Interim Fire Chief Eckes, Kyle Kearns, Jake Kunforth, Tyler Mickelson, and Tim DeSorsi. A list of others in attendance is on file in the clerk's office. Item 1 was to call the meeting to order. Chairperson Rayom called the meeting to order at 4:31 PM. Item 2, consider request from the fire department to apply for a grant to purchase 2 Lucas, that's LUCAS devices through the Aspire Foundation. A Lucas device is a mechanical CPR machine. It was moved by Bemke, seconded by Rayom, to approve the application for a grant to purchase 2 Lucas devices through the Aspire Foundation for $34,521.22. That motion carried 3-0. Item 3, consider request from the Park and Building Supervisor to replace the humidifier at City Hall. As moved by Katnoff, seconded by Rayom, to accept the bid from Tri-City Services for replacement of the humidifier at City Hall for $14,599, and that motion carried 3-0. Item 4, consider request from Park and Building Supervisor to remove all the windows at the Centralia Center and re-insulate around the windows. It was moved by Katnoff, seconded by Rayom, to accept the proposal in the amount of $16,906 from K&W Glass to remove and re-insulate the Centralia Center's windows. And that motion carried 3-0. Item 5, consider request from Wisconsin Rapids Women's Softball Association, Jamie McDonald, agent, for renewal of the 6-month retail Class B fermented malt beverages license from May 1, 2022 to October 31, 2022 for the premises located at Mead Field, 311 17th Avenue South. It was moved by Bemke, seconded by Rayom, to approve a 6-month retail Class B fermented malt beverages license for Wisconsin Rapids Women's Softball Association, Jamie McDonald, agent, from May 1, 2022 to October 31, 2022 for the premises located at Mead Field, 311 17th Avenue South, and that motion carried 3-0. Item 6, consider for approval a temporary retail Class B fermented malt beverages license for Central Wisconsin Cultural Center, 2651 8th Street South, for an open mic event to be held on Friday, April 29th, 2022, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's moved by Bemke, seconded by Rayom, to approve a temporary retail Class B fermented malt beverages license for the Central Wisconsin Cultural Center, 2651 8th Street South, for an open mic event to be held on Friday, April 29th, 2022, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. That motion carried 3-0. Item 7, review and consider for approval proposals for acquisition and upgrade of financial software. It was moved by Catnaw, second by Bemke, to approve a proposal from New Roads Public Works Management System Software in the amount of $12,000 and RT Vision Software for $4,500 with yearly maintenance fees. That motion carried 3-0. Item 8, review and consider for approval 2022 budget amendment. It was moved by Catnaw, second by Bemke, to approve the 2022 budget amendment resolution. That motion carried 3-0. Item 9 was audit of the bills. It was moved by Catnaw, second by Rayom, to approve the check numbers 11992 to 12431. That motion carried 3-0. Item 10 was to set the next meeting date. Next committee will set a date at the reorganizational meeting of the council, which is next Tuesday. Item 11, consider the sale of a vacant city-owned building located at 161 and 163 3rd Street North, parcel IDs 34-08156 and 34-08157. I'm just going to ask the two items that I'm on here, item 11 and 12. You'll see in our agenda, if we wanted to, that we can hold these over to go into closed session at the end. So the committee did take action, so I don't know if you want me to read through these or how, if you're going to want to do these in closed session at the end, or.
I would maybe read the action on the two, and then at the end, if someone wants to go into closed session, they can hold out each or both of the items.
Just read what we did, okay? In open session, it was moved by Bemke, seconded by Rayom, to go in closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads, deliberating and negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Roll call vote was taken. All members voted in the affirmative. Motion carried 3-0. The committee went into closed session. In closed session, the committee discussed negotiations and strategy regarding the sale of the above property. It was moved by Catnaw, seconded by Bemke, to return to open session. The motion carried 3-0. The committee returned to open session. It was moved by Catnaw, seconded by Bemke, to sell the vacant city-owned building located at 161 and 163 3rd Street North, parcel IDs 34-08156 and 34-08157, pursuant to the offer presented for the amount of $38,000 with development contingencies as outlined in the offer. That motion carried 3-0. Item 12, in open session, it was moved by Bemke, seconded by Catnaw, to go into closed session pursuant to section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session. Roll call vote was taken. All members voted in the affirmative. Motion carried 3-0. Committee went into closed session. In closed session, the committee discussed the proposal for an organizational study and analysis of the police department and police chief candidate recruitment. As moved by Bemke, seconded by Rayom, to return to open session. The motion carried 3-0. The committee returned to open session. As moved by Catnaw, seconded by Bemke, to proceed with the proposal from CSS for an organizational study and analysis of the police department and police chief candidate recruitment and the appropriation of funds to the Police and Fire Commission for the police chief candidate recruitment portion. That motion carried 3-0. Item 13, it was moved by Bamke, seconded by Rayom to adjourn. The motion carried 3-0. The meeting adjourned at 6:04 PM, and with that, Your Honor, move for adoption of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Hale. So we have a second by Jake. What are your wishes, and what are your wishes with the items, closed session items? Are you good with taking them up now or holding them out till the end? Okay. Good, okay. Sounds good. So we have a motion and a second to adopt the report as presented. Is there any questions, comments? Good. Matt? Oh. Okay. Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Don't need to hold them out. Yep. That motion carried 7 ayes, 0 nays. We are on to the Public Works Committee report held on April 7th. Mr. Zacher.
Thank you. The Public Works Committee met on Thursday, April 7th, 2022, in the council chambers at City Hall and via remote video conference. Ryan Austin, Matt Zacher, and Patrick Delaney were in attendance. Others attending are listed below. Item number 1, call to order. The meeting was called to order at 5:04 PM. Number 2, review engineering and street department activities report. The reports were reviewed. Number 3, review and consider proposals for environmental services related to West Jackson Street and 9th Avenue reconstruction projects. Environmental service proposals were reviewed with engineering department's recommendation to hire Robert E. Lee based on hourly rates and past working experience with the city. Motion by Zacher, seconded by Austin, to approve hiring Robert E. Lee for the environmental services up to $20,000. Motion carried 3-0. Number 4, review the municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4, annual report. Annual MS4 report was reviewed. Number 5, review referral list, no items to update. Number 6, adjourn. Motion by Zacher, seconded by Austin, to adjourn at 5:25 PM. Motion carried 3-0. Thank you.
Is that a motion to accept, to approve?
I motion to approve.
Okay. So we have a motion by Matt, second by Sherry to adopt the report. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. That motion carries 7 ayes, 0 nays. And Jay, you don't have the HR report yet, or do you?
I do not. I believe Ryan just went to get it. or-
Okay.
so-
What?
Want to give Ryan a minute, or you want to wing it?
Let's give him a minute if anybody needs a minute also. Go ahead and take it. Anybody know any songs? Go ahead and pass them out, Mr. Hartman. Thank you. Whenever you're ready, Jay.
Alrighty, thank you, Mayor. Human Resource Committee met Thursday, April 14th in the council chambers. All committee members were present. A list of others in attendance is on file in the clerk's office. Meeting was called to order at 5:05 PM. Item number 2 was to discuss and consider for approval an increase in the compensation for wastewater treatment plant intern from $14 an hour to $16 an hour. There was a motion by Bemke, seconded by Veneman, to approve the request for the pay increase for wastewater treatment plant intern from $14 to $16 per hour. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 3, discuss and consider for approval modifications to the position descriptions for the recreation supervisor and parks and recreation coordinator. There is an attachment provided. Motion by Veneman, seconded by Bemke, to approve modifications to the position descriptions for the recreation supervisor and parks and recreation coordinator and proposed language to education requirements. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 4, discuss and consider for approval the 2022 general wage increase for non-represented city employees. There was a motion by Bemke, seconded by Veneman, to approve the 3% general wage increase for the non-represented city employees. Motion carried 3-0. Item 5, there was an update on the wage study. No action was taken. Item 6, discuss and consider for ratification a successor collective bargaining agreement with IAFF for Local 425. Motion by Bemke, seconded by Evenson, to ratify a successor collective bargaining agreement with IAFF Local 425. Motion carried 3-0. Item 7, discuss and consider for ratification a successor collective bargaining agreement with WRPPA. Motion by Veneman, seconded by Evenson, to ratify a successor collective bargaining agreement with WRPPA. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 8 was adjournment. Motion by Bemke, seconded by Veneman, to adjourn. Motion carried 3-0. Meeting was adjourned at 5:53 PM, and with that, I will submit this for the council's approval.
Yes, a motion by Jay. And seconded by Matt. Jake?
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on item number 4, the wage increase for non-represented city employees of 3%. I think that's the right thing to do, and going into next year, I hope we can consider that the annual rate of inflation was 8.4%. So I would hope that we can keep our city employees at least the inflation rate so that they can keep the same living wages that they currently have. So something to consider for next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Patrick?
I just had a question on number 4. Was there I was here when you guys had discussed that. Was there an amount that this would increase is going to cost?
I know in the budget that was approved that there's already 2.5% in there. So that's previously been approved in the budget. I don't know about the extra 0.5%, what that is.
Right.
Oh, go ahead. There you go, Tim. Thank you.
I couldn't quite hear, but I mean, I think the question was, what does the 3% mean across the city? And basically a 3% increase, and this includes wages, but all the related roll-ups as far as Wisconsin Retirement System, FICA, workers' compensation, it would be $436,000. And, the mayor is right that in the 2022 budget, 2.5% was budgeted for specifically for wage increase, but we have other funds in contingency that would cover the residual. And also remember, of the $436,000, not all that comes from a multiple funding sources such as the sewer use fee and other funding sources.
Thank you, Tim. Patrick? Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none? Go ahead. Oh, yeah, Jay.
So just a quick thought. First of all, thank you, Attorney Schill, for a nice job bargaining items number 6 and 7. I think the process went pretty good, and
Mhm.
hopefully everybody's happy with the outcome. So the other thing is we did meet with Carlson Detman today, and I think one of the comments, I mentioned this before, that was made is, again, to Attorney Schill, that it was a good thing that we got these contracts wrapped up and we're moving on with this. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a good process. I've sat many times on the other side. I've never sat on this side, and yeah, I think it went very well. There's still work to be done, though. Seeing nothing else, please cast your ballots. That motion carried 6 ayes, 1 nay. We're on to item number 9, which is reports of other commissions, boards, and departmental reports.
I would like to pull out K.
Go ahead, talk about it. Or you can talk about it if you want, yeah.
Okay, so I know we've talked about it at the council level. I know Jake has brought it up faithfully all the time about the day rates. You know, I've been watching the meetings. I guess one thing I'm really confused about is, and I know we had an ad hoc meeting or ad hoc committee back in 2021 that met 3 times. That was talking about the roles and responsibilities of the Park and Rec Commission. It kind of just dropped. I don't see anything since then. And I know, you know, I'm kind of confused because I know in our municipal code, on page 6, you know, it talks about the commission having, you know, complete charge, supervision, management, recreational buildings, grounds, blah, 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 blah. But it says, as shall be assigned to said commission by the common council for the development, maintenance, and operation of all public recreational facilities and activities. And then on number 2, it says the commission shall adopt such rules and regulations to govern the organization and conduct of its work as shall deem advisable. So I was just kind of doing some research of what, you know, because I know with the wastewater commission and everyone keeps saying the library, you know, we give them money and the common council can't say anything of what happens. And I know I was looking at the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. Now they refer it to as the Wisconsin Park Boards, but that is park commissions. And everywhere in here, it, you know, and I know ours references Chapter 27, Wisconsin State Statute, which refers to this. But it consistently says advisory, 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 and this is from the Wisconsin Municipal Government Board. And so I'm, you know, so I was doing some research with that and trying to figure out, you know, we have a $12 million facility, and I've been listening to the Park and Rec Commission. I've commented. I know Mr. Katnaugh has as well. As far as, you know, watching the last meeting about the day rates, and going back months and months, it's consistently said that, you know, it's easier to get people through, it's faster, it's quicker, because it is always talked about the resident rate and a non-resident rate. And I know Mr. Katnaugh had done a lot of homework on that, and I found some myself. You know, we're paying through it. The $12 million, I mean, well, we got match money, so about $9 million, I believe. And we're paying for that, plus we're paying for the interest. Taxpayers are paying that. And now we're paying the same rate when we go to the water park as everybody else. And I consistently heard in the meetings that there's no way to track it. I know it's brought up. Craig had brought it up many times. I know throughout the months of watching their meetings, you know, that oh, well, how can we determine a rate because we can't determine who's utilizing it? Now, let me tell you what, if I owned a business and it was $12 million, I would want to know who my demographics are. Of the $20,000 day passes, we have no idea if they're residents or they're non-residents. I guess if I owned a business, I probably would want to know that. And so I constantly heard in the minutes or the meetings that there's no way to do that. It's people have to wait in line and, they might leave, whatever. So I talked to our IT person and asked them, what is our system over there? What capabilities does it have? I know with COVID, we had to type in an address. So you go up and you say, okay, what's your address? And you type it in, 411 Plover Street. Oh, you're a resident. Okay, so you can come. Because of COVID, we were only letting city residents in. It's basically that simple. Give me your address, I type it in, it tells you you're a resident or you're a non-resident, and that's what your fee is. I mean, I don't know how that could take a long period. And I know Jake left. I was hoping he'd stay. Maybe Mayor, was it true that we had 2 or 3 lines last year at the water park? I thought they said 2. Okay. And I thought maybe they said with the part-timer, maybe getting a line for seasonal pass holders so they kind of just moved through. But our system is capable of that. So why wouldn't we want to know how many residents are utilizing the day passes and how many non-residents are using the day passes? And I know I hear all the time about the punch cards, and yes, that is a good deal. But I shouldn't be forced as a resident that I'm already paying for it on my tax bill to say, you have to buy the 5-pack for $20 or you pay $7 like everybody else. How is that fair? I just don't understand it. The system is there. I called the city of Marshfield, and in the meetings I get frustrated because it's, oh, I think this or I think that. Nobody seems to want to do research on it. And like I said, this is a big deal for the city of Rapids. It's a lot of money that we're paying for it. The city of Marshfield charges a resident and a non-resident rate. And they use the same software that we use. And they figure it out. I mean, so I just don't understand why we keep saying that we can't do it, and we're not doing it. I mean, I certainly would want that information. And I know they said, well, the kids come and this and that. Well, you have to be 13 years of age to be there without an adult. I would certainly hope they know what their address is. You don't have to have a driver's license or anything like that. But, it just kind of confuses me of why we keep saying that. And as far as them not coming or they get frustrated, I mean, this is a city of Rapids, sorry. We don't have to wait in line for restaurants and that. But I mean, if you go outside the city, you are waiting to get into a restaurant or anything. So, I mean, waiting 5-10 minutes to get into a facility, even if it took that long, I don't really think that that's a big deal. And I guess I just get frustrated because we dish out this money, we give allotted money to the aquatic center, and we can't determine. I mean, we just passed tonight at the HR meeting a position that's going to have complete control, total control over the entire facility. And in another, when I was getting off track, that's something else. Never mind. But and it was brought up at the last meeting of how much money that they made in 2021, and it was roughly $21,000. Nobody seemed to know where that was going, and I know Mayor had texted Dawn and told her that, chimed in and said, yep, that goes to maintenance, because they were even confused as commission members, where's that money going? So you have a $12 million facility, we're still paying for it, we're paying the interest, we're paying the payments, we're paying to get in, and we have $20,000 left over that goes to a maintenance account, capital improvement plan of some sort, I would assume.
The money that's taken in, and if Tim's online, the money that's taken in goes to operations. So you budget $130,000 for the operation of the aquatic center. So that money plus the money that's taken in on revenue goes to cover the expenses for the season. There is no money for operational maintenance yet. There is no depreciation accounts for pumps and equipment, and there's no money that's coming in above and beyond to pay on debt. So that's coming out of the budget.
Okay, because I thought there was I swear when I watched back, I can't remember, I have so many notes, but that there was a maintenance fund for repairs in that. I thought that was already set up.
Tim, are you online? Yeah, please go ahead, Tim.
But I think, with the aquatics fund, we account for the aquatics in a separate fund that's separate from any other city operations. So all the monies coming in and going out are contained in that fund. So if there's any monies that, as the previous mentioned, the $21,000 surplus is carried forward in that fund. And any of those reserves that accumulate in that fund will go to fund any capital or operational deficits in the future. So, that money stays within the Aquatic Center fund and it goes nowhere else unless the council would approve a budget amendment with transfer out of it.
Okay, Tim, on that note, there has to be, I know it's new. It's 2 years old, but one full season in under our belts. I wasn't there. I'm not a maintenance person. I have no idea how long stuff is meant to last before it needs to be replaced. But you were probably involved, obviously, with this whole process. But I don't see any number of what we should have in an account for maintenance. Because I sure don't want to be a resident here as a citizen for the city of Wisconsin Rapids, that I'm paying taxes on a $12 million facility that we haven't paid for, and I'm paying to get into the park. And now it comes that we have to fix it, and we don't have enough money to fix it. So now we're going to borrow to fix it. So what's the magic number that we should have in an account for repairs? Had anybody thought that out? Does that make sense?
Well, absolutely. That's why we're accumulating those funds in that account. However, like with anything else, this is a facility. This is just one aspect of the city. Just a few moments ago, we had a discussion how we need to make streets a priority. This all comes down to, I would love to fund all our building maintenance needs at the level it needs to be, but when it comes to it, it's like, when we have our operations and all our capital needs and our future capital needs, it comes down to priorities. So we do the best job possible of doing this. But to be honest, when this facility I was not involved, too much with when this facility be done and what the capital thing was. Also, when this went online, our operating levy went from 80,000 to 135,000. So just to operate it, let alone any future capital needs.
Okay, so they're in a nutshell. So we don't know what we're going to have. So if something major breaks tomorrow, what are we going to do? We're going to borrow. We're going to borrow more money on top of what we have because we can't just let a $12 million facility sit there. But it seems like nobody brings that to attention, or I don't want to say they don't care. I don't mean it that way, but why is this never brought up? This is the Park and Rec Commission who is oversight for the Aquatic Center. And for people to say, oh my goodness, if we raise a rate $2.50, oh my gosh, but $2.50 even, I figured if we have 20,000 day passes, I was just throwing a number out there. Let's say 10,000 is resident, 10,000 isn't. At least that's another $20,000, $30,000 a year. And so I don't remember when. I tried looking back. I don't know it. Sue, I'm sure you would know it. But I guess I would just like somebody to tell me, do we have authority as a council to figure out what we can charge for rates, or so we're not just stuck when they come back and say, hey, it's broke, we need more money. I think as a council, we should have the authority to that. How can we get that authority back if we don't have it? I mean, I was told before that the coordinator has complete control over everything at the aquatic center, according to Knight when I said, how do we get this back where the council can determine what things should be by looking at the budget? How can we get that back? Or do we create an aquatics subcommittee of some sort where we have power to make sure that we're making enough money for operating? Because I know they were saying the $20,000, they were talking at the meeting earlier this week, well, because that's what they made in 2021. Well, water rates are going up. I mean, we just heard from the Water and Light, it's going up $1.13 for a typical regular customer with 6 units. So the water park's using more than that. So water rates are going to be going up. I'm sure electrical is going up. Price of chemicals is not getting any cheaper. So if we're staying the same as it is right now and thinking that we're going to make $20,000, we're not going to make $20,000, I can guarantee you that. So we're always talking with this council in the past about, okay, we got to quit borrowing. Where are we going to find this money? True, but in essence, we have a great facility there. I mean, we have things that we can make money on, but we choose not to. I mean, I look at it as a positive. Instead of trying to cut, what can we make revenue on? How can we get more money? I mean, I remember one night, getting off topic, but about the compost site. We had a contractor stand there and tell us that we could raise our rates at the compost because they would pay it. And we still didn't do it. And so getting back to the Park and Rec, I would just like, I mean, somebody to tell me the rates are already set supposedly because they passed it, but what do we have as a council as authority? Thank you.
I guess I don't know who has that answer, but just so you know, Park and Rec wasn't the person involved in the aquatics. It was the council, and there's probably people on the council here that maybe can explain to you why they didn't consider depreciation funds, how to fund those type of things. You know, those are the people you need to talk to council about that. It wasn't Park and Rec. Park and Rec Commission was not a part of that process of anything to do with the aquatics. But I don't know if Sue has an opinion on the legal interpretation of the ordinance.
Well, right, the ordinance as it is gives that authority to the Park and Rec Commission. I just pulled out an ordinance that I was working on, and I last worked on it in January, and so I guess you can blame me for not getting back to it. But the Park and Rec ad hoc committee has met 4 times since June of last year, and I do have a proposed ordinance that would probably make things clearer for between the council and the Park and Rec, and then that'll be the council's decision on whether you want to, there's been membership from the council, 2 members of the council are on the ad hoc committee. So, and you can go through this and agree with whether that should be a council thing, this should be a commission thing, but hopefully we can get a Park and Rec meeting, ad hoc meeting together soon and go through this ordinance and then bring it to council. But it is the language that's in the commission or in the ordinance right now is pretty much treating, giving the Park and Rec Commission a lot of authority. And actually, this ordinance will pare back some of that, and so they can concentrate more on programming and strategic planning and parks and such. So I guess, so if setting the fees for park usage or aquatics usage is something that council wants to reserve, then that should be put in the ordinance.
And so you would have that ready, you said that you'll be meeting?
Yeah, well, I can set up we'll set up a meeting. soon.
I mean, and I know the rates, I mean, we're set this week already, so I'm sure it's all over everything, and we probably can't do anything this year, but, and as far as to, you know, like our municipal code, how it says that, the advisable in there, so, and I know you said the ordinance that you're kind of creating,
What portion are you saying?
numbers on page 6.
Yeah, I guess I'm,
Under the Park and Rec Commission duties, number 15.
I just have the new one, which is overriding.
Oh,
the
so
other-
maybe
No,
I
but
don't-
it still should be here. So,
It just says this commission shall adopt such rules and regulations to govern the organization and conduct of its work as it shall seem advisable.
right, that means the commission would adopt rules. You know, that's simply saying as it deems advisable. So they decide what rules they might have. And that's more in terms of how they conduct their business and, you know, whether they have subcommittees or not, or how they basically do their work.
Because like I said, I would like to see an ordinance quickly, so I mean, we can see something, but like I said, a lot of the research I was doing, according to state statute, chapter 27, a lot of the park commission in that, they're advisable. I mean, they advise, they programming, things like that, but budgetary things, it's advisable. And
Well, I can tell you, you do right now, and you will, under this ordinance, and probably any ordinance that would be drafted, you control the budget. If you, and you do that every fall, and if you want money to be in depreciation or whatever, you approve their budget each year, and they can't go outside of that budget. So if there are monies that need to be appropriated in their budget, then that's, you know, that's your final call on that. The revenue side, in terms of setting the fees and so on, I mean, I guess that's something, obviously, that if you defer to them on setting those fees, then you do, and you don't have a say, but.
right, because that's what I thought,
Yeah.
you know, like I know we have the budget, so I could say, okay, well, you're getting $30,000 less this year, and you figure out how you're going to make that up.
Right.
And I get that, but at the time, you know, it's like, it's so large, where this time, it would be, you know, if you raise the rates for non-residents, you know, like I said, it just seems so silly when I'm watching these meetings over and over and over again, that they keep saying there's no way to do that. And I haven't heard anybody reach out saying, what can we do to find out this information? But I just wanted the people at home to realize that, yes, they are being paid, you know, on their tax bill. They're paying the same rate. There is capability to find out who's resident, who's non-resident, and it is not difficult, and it's not going to take that long. Thank you.
I was told that there was, just to clarify, that there was a line for season passes and 2 lines for day passes last year. Go ahead, Jake.
Thank you. Very well said, Sherry. In regards to the lines, as that was just brought up, I'll speak to that first. I frequent the aquatic center with my family, and outside of when the gates open, and this isn't even every day, it's mostly at the beginning of the season, the lines are very tolerable. Sometimes there isn't even lines. They're roped off for certain season passes or day pass areas, but you pretty much walk in and you're standing behind, you know, a group or two at most during most times of the day. It's really not an issue, and I heard that at the Parks and Rec Committee, that's just a huge issue, and it's taking up this much time, and I wonder how much those people are, not all of them, but some of the commission members, maybe, I don't know if they go there or if that's just hearsay, but as a person who's went there countless times, that's been my experience. In regards to the ordinance, it's a little confusing to me that the Parks and Recs Commission gets control and to set these rates, which are revenue into the city, because for example, when we do a lease with the rafters, that's revenue coming into the city. That's came through finance committee. Wastewater contracts have came to the ambulance. We just did ambulance fees, which residents are getting a lesser rate than non-residents. Those things came through us. All revenue generating things I feel should come through this council, but for some reason, the revenue for the aquatic center, which when you pull up the budget, last year, total operating revenue was $274,000, doesn't come through us. And when you go to the concession stand, I mean, you can get things there that are cheaper than anywhere else you go in the city. And, you know, the pass rates should be favorable for residents. I mean, but we could look at the non-resident rate. I mean, 274,000, and there's room to grow there, and that would be the room that we could use to make these equipment replacement funds. So that's all set for a future council, but I would definitely be interested to see that come under the council's control. And then I'm going to give my deal one last time on city residents in the aquatic center. So to the rates, if you own a $100,000 home, you're paying $70 in taxes. What the home rates are now, you know, if it's 200,000, which is likely, you might pay 140. And then on top of that, you pay 120 for a season pass. Where a non-resident doesn't pay any taxes in the city, can come and get a season pass, and it's more, but it adds up to be a lot less than what a resident would pay. If you, for example, own a $150,000 home and you pay to the aquatic center and you just want to go there 3 times, you're paying $126. And what I've heard is, well, we knew that when we were going in and we decided to build an aquatic center. I mean, we decided to build an aquatic center, but I didn't sign up to not have control over the rates and have it set to where the residents are paying almost always more than non-residents when you put all the money together. And at the Parks and Rec Committee meeting, it's been said that it's impossible to set, not impossible, but it would be too difficult to do resident, non-residential rates. In Marshfield, theirs is $7.50 for non-residential, $5 for residential, and somehow we can't do that. And a punch pass is great. I think that's a great deal, but I think the option should be for those who just want to go a few times that they can get that rate. And then lastly, I'll speak to a little bit what was just talked about, but I strongly recommend that the new council look at the structure of all the commissions, their current rules and regulations to give the final decision to us elected officials when it comes to some of our largest assets. And these include Water and Light, Witter Park, which is the aquatic center, wastewater treatment, etc. I mean, anything that goes through those commissions should come to us as their minutes, and we should be able to send that back. The fact that that's not available to us, and those are all city assets, to me is mind-blowing. So I recommend that the future council, or the new council that will be seated, really look at those rules for the commissions and not abolishing the commissions. They would mostly operate as is, but if there's something every once in a while that the council doesn't agree with, we have the authority to step in on that. And lastly, I'll make a referral to the Parks and Recs Commission.
We're not at the referral part yet.
Okay, thanks.
And we've kind of really strayed from the agenda. You're talking about things that are on, that's not even on the Park and Rec agenda, but it's your last meeting, so we'll indulge. Dean, let's try to keep it to the Park and Rec minutes if that's what it is.
Thank you. No, regarding the minutes and from the Park and Rec. So I think one of the things that did come up is the identification, the proof. Yeah, are you a resident? Sure that I don't see a 11-year-old lying about where they live. But by the same token, I mean, it's Wisconsin. There is a proof notice to it. I've never, by the way, I'm totally with Mr. Catna and Ms. Evanson. regarding the residents paying too much. I've never been one, and I also think that even for residents disregarding the taxes that we're paying on the debt, $7 is an incredible deal for that facility. I've never been one to lower that number. I certainly would be in favor of increasing non-resident rates to maybe 10. But the problem is right now, I think we still need that year to find out what type of traction this is gaining. And I really think that yes, and one more year of full history away from COVID. And yeah, we should be tracking where these people are coming from this year so that next year, when we want to find out about this, we've got a better idea. Yeah, I agree 100%, Sherry, that not knowing the demographics of what we have there, because I'd love, is the problem. I definitely want non-residents to put money into that pool. I want people that don't pay taxes to help pay for this thing. And so as far as I'm concerned, I think, yeah, it's going to be tough to do anything this year to change what they've put it forward. But yes, I would think we definitely want to do some investigation on how hard it is to see where they're coming in and start that this year so we know what type of non-resident we are getting, and we got to find a way to do that. Thanks.
One more comment, and then I'll shut up. I did talk to the city of Marshfield, and she said that, I said, well, did you require, because we have to be 13 years of age or older when they come here. Obviously, they don't have an ID or anything. They don't require it there either. It's just you give them their address. You know, when there's people behind you and that, I mean, like she said, some people, do they lie? Probably. I mean, do some people lie, say they're 60 years old when they go to IGA or Quality Foods and get the senior discount? Probably. But I mean, it's far and in between. I mean, it's just, they're not going to do that. And she said the same thing, that they didn't have that problem in Marshfield either. And just to reiterate, the system that is in place has the capability to do resident and non-resident. So thank you.
Okay, what are your wishes regarding the reports?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion by Jay, second by Matt.
So are we approving all of them, or did we pull Park and Rec out to vote on separately?
We're filed. Yeah.
Sorry.
Nope. Okay, everybody please cast your ballots. I'm sorry. There we go. Motion carried 5 ayes, 1 nay, 1 abstain. Yep, you're fine. So Jake, we're to referrals. So if you want to verbally give your referral, but please email the clerk for it to be an official referral.
Sure.
So she gets the correct language and verbiage. And
Yeah, I'll send that after the meeting here. So the referral's just the Parks and Rec to review aquatic center concessions and what those rates are.
And I agree. I would like to see that the demographics be recorded this year, because I know when I talked to Tyler, it is available for that. So I would like to see that, because then we would know at the end of this year what our daily pass rate is in that. I'd also I will get that to Jennifer, but I would like something, a referral on the beer and wastewater agreement. That hasn't been talked about in, I know, a long, long time. I know it was supposed to be in contracts settled something around in January, and there's anything, so they're still paying the same rates that we were paying. But I haven't heard anything about that, so I'd like to refer that. I don't know if that goes to the legislative committee. And then the municipal code, I know when I was looking through some of the stuff, I know it's just a book working thing, but I know a lot of the Director of Public Works stuff is still in there. I mean, a lot of that needs to be changed, so I don't know if that goes to the legislative as well, but I will email them to you. Thank you.
any other referrals? Okay. We're on to item 13, which is adjournment. We have a motion by Jay. Second by Jake. I guess we can do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Have a happy holiday weekend.